It is an hour before dawn, and the city is already breathing. You wake on a flat mud-brick roof, the air still cool from the river. Below you, 100,000 others are stirring in the same gray light. You are in Babylon. The year is 570 before the Common Era. This is the largest city the world has ever built. And by nightfall, you will have walked through wonders that people will still argue about 3,000 years from now. You will not see a single machine, and yet, nothing here is simple. 200,000 people live inside these walls, more than any city on Earth. The walls themselves are so wide that 2 chariots can race along the top, side by side. A river, the Euphrates, cuts the city in half and feeds every garden, every canal, every mouth. At its heart stands a tower so tall it seems to touch the home of the gods. Around it spreads a grid of streets, temples, and palaces, planned, drained, and defended. This is the story of a single ordinary day inside the greatest city of the ancient world, reconstructed from the clay tablets, the ruins, and the walls that still stand in Iraq today. To understand Babylon, you first have to understand the morning. You climb down a wooden ladder into a courtyard no bigger than a small room. Your house is made of mud brick, dried in the sun, packed thick against the heat. There are no windows to the street. Every home turns inward, around its own quiet court. In a niche in the wall sits a small clay figure of a household god, watching over the family. A clay oven still holds warmth from yesterday, and someone is already flattening dough for flatbread. Breakfast is barley porridge, dates, onions, and a thick beer drunk through a reed straw. Beer here is not a luxury. It is food, wages, and medicine, brewed in almost every household. You pull on a simple tunic of undyed wool, the cloth that clothes the entire empire. Outside your door, the narrow lane is packed earth, twisting between windowless walls. A water seller passes, jars balanced on a pole, calling a price you barely notice. The smell is mud, wood smoke, animals, and beneath it all, the green weight of the river. You follow the lane toward a wide, straight road, and the city suddenly opens. This is the Processional Way, paved with heavy stone slabs set in black bitumen. It runs arrow straight through the city, built for gods, for kings, and for armies. The walls on either side rise higher than 3 men, and they are blue. Not painted, glazed. Thousands of bricks fired with a deep lapis blue shine that does not fade. Against that blue march lions, one after another, molded in yellow and white, mouths open. 60 of them line the route, each one a promise. This is a city under the protection of a goddess. Ahead, the road narrows toward a gate that seems to swallow the sky. The Ishtar Gate, named for the goddess of love and of war. It stands as tall as a modern 6-story building, double-towered, dark blue, gleaming in the early sun. Across its surface, rows of dragons and bulls stand frozen, the sacred beasts of Marduk and of Adad. You pass beneath it, and the temperature drops in the deep shadow of the arch. For a moment, there is only the echo of your own feet on ancient stone. This gate is not really for you. It is for the new year, when the gods themselves come home. Once a year, the statue of Marduk is carried through here, on the shoulders of priests in a river of people. Today it is quieter. Merchants, soldiers, a shaven-headed priest, a boy driving goats. But even half empty, the gate does its work. It tells you exactly how small you are, and it tells every foreign envoy precisely who rules the world. Beyond the gate, the city becomes noise again, the endless noise of trade. Babylon is not just a capital. It is the clearinghouse of the entire ancient economy. Caravans arrive from the Persian hills, from Egypt, from the distant edges of India. They bring cedar, copper, tin, lapis lazuli, incense, and slaves. They leave with barley, wool, dates, and finished cloth woven in the city's own workshops. There are no coins yet, not for centuries. Value is weighed out in silver, in grain, and in trust. And trust, in Babylon, is written down. At a stall, a scribe presses a cut reed into a tablet of wet clay, making tiny wedge-shaped marks. This is cuneiform, among the oldest writing on earth, already ancient even here. He records a debt, so many measures of barley, to be repaid after the harvest before 3 witnesses. Contracts, marriages, lawsuits, tax receipts, schoolboy exercises. All of it survives, baked hard in clay. It is the reason you can stand here at all. Babylon wrote itself down, and the desert kept it. Nearby, a woman sells dried fish. A potter turns a heavy wheel with his foot. A moneylender argues interest rates that would look familiar to any modern bank. Children haul water. A drunk is escorted, almost gently, away from a temple wall. Somewhere, a musician tunes a lyre strung with gut, an instrument already 1,000 years old. This is not a primitive world. It is a dense, legal, literate, and exhausting city. And it runs on the one thing every empire runs on: the labor of ordinary people. But Babylon's true power is not in its walls. It is in its clay libraries. Here, priests have watched the night sky for centuries and written down everything they see. They divide the circle into 360 degrees. They split the hour into 60 minutes and the minute into 60 seconds. When you check the time today, you are still counting in Babylonian. They track the planets so carefully that they can predict an eclipse before it falls. They map the path of the moon and name the constellations you still use. Their mathematics can solve problems that will not be rediscovered in Europe for 2,000 years. And yet to them, this is not science as you would call it. The sky is a text, and the gods are writing in it. A comet, a blood-red moon, a planet out of place. Each is a message about the fate of the king. So the astronomer and the priest are the same person, reading the heavens for warnings, in a language of numbers no one else on earth yet speaks. By midday, the sun is a hammer, and the crowds thin into the shade. You look up and you cannot avoid it, the tower at the very center of everything, Etemenanki. Its name means the foundation of heaven and earth. A ziggurat, a mountain built by human hands, terrace stacked upon terrace, 7 levels rising into the haze. It climbs perhaps 90 meters, as tall as a modern 30-story tower made entirely of brick. Many believe this is the tower half remembered and feared in the much later story of Babel. At its summit sits a single temple, reachable only by priests and by the king himself. This is the house of Marduk, the god who, they say, made the world from the body of a slain sea. Babylon does not separate the city from the divine. The god does not live in the sky. He lives here, in brick, at the top of the stairs. Each morning his golden statue is washed, dressed, perfumed, and fed like a living king. The harvest, the war, the flood, all of it is read as his mood that day. You will never climb this tower. Almost no one who ever lived did. But its shadow falls across every street, every contract, every birth in the city below. To be Babylonian is to live your entire life beneath the feet of a god. The man who built this Babylon has a name history will never forget: Nebuchadnezzar. For more than 40 years he has poured the wealth of an empire into these bricks. He rebuilt the walls, the gate, the temples, and the road you walked this morning. His armies reached the Mediterranean. His campaigns emptied the city of Jerusalem and carried its people into exile here. And somewhere behind his palace walls may lie his most debated gift of all: a terraced garden. Green, cascading, impossible. Watered high above the dry brown plain. Greek writers, centuries later, will call it one of the 7 wonders of the world. They will say a king built it to comfort a queen who missed the green mountains of her home. Yet no excavation has ever found it for certain. It may lie beneath your feet. It may be a legend that grew in the retelling. But standing here, in this city, you understand why people believed it without proof. In a place that turned mud into mountains and deserts into shining blue walls, a hanging garden is not the strangest thing you have seen today. The sun sinks and the glazed walls catch the last of it, burning slowly from blue to violet. The Euphrates turns to beaten copper. The tower's long shadow reaches across the whole of the city. From the top of the Great Wall, you can see the fields, the canals, the entire green world that Babylon feeds. It feels eternal. Every empire at its height feels eternal. But this ordinary day is closer to the end than anyone standing on this wall could possibly know. In just over 30 years, a Persian king named Cyrus will take this city and, the tablets claim, enter it almost without a fight. Babylon will not burn, it will simply fade. Its people will drift away, its canals will choke with silt, and the greatest city on earth will sink, brick by brick, back into the sand. Today, most of Babylon is low ruin and faint outline in the desert of central Iraq, an hour's drive south of Baghdad. The tower is a scar of foundation. The palaces are mud. But the Ishtar Gate still stands, taken apart, carried across a continent, and rebuilt, blue and roaring, in a museum in Berlin. You can walk beneath its lines today, exactly as you did on this ordinary morning, 26 centuries ago. The people are gone, the gods are gone, but the counting of your minutes, the shape of your week, the idea of a written contract, those are still Babylonian. If this reconstruction moved you, subscribe and tell me in the comments which lost city you want to wake up in next. And watch the next one, here.